Hey everybody! In this masterclass, I'd like to take you through the orchestration process of one of my compositions, starting from a piano version and leading all the way to a fully orchestrated score. The video will be divided into 3 parts. In the first section, you'll hear the piece in its original form. This will give you a clear sense of the musical ideas before any orchestration choices are made. In the second section, we'll focus on a few selected passages from the piece. For each one, we'll begin with the piano version and then build the orchestration step by step. I'll show you how I approach orchestral color, texture, and balance, and especially how to take full advantage of the VSL libraries and their available articulations to shape the music effectively. Finally, in the third section, you'll hear the entire piece fully orchestrated, presented along with the score, so you can see and hear how everything comes together in the final result. And with that in mind, let's get started with the piano version. Now that you've heard the original piano version, we'll break it down into a few selected passages and gradually build them into a fully orchestrated version. So, if you're ready, let's start by listening to this first excerpt. Now, let's isolate the arpeggios and focus on those alone. Let's explore how a similar effect can be created using orchestral instruments. While almost every section of the orchestra is capable of playing arpeggios, and sometimes that's exactly the right choice, string instruments offer certain arpeggio techniques that are far more idiomatic than simply rendering them as one would on a piano. One such technique is known as arpeggiated string crossing. This technique is included in synchron duality strings as part of the virtuoso extension. I'll enable the stretch function so the arpeggiated figure aligns with my piece's tempo. Let's listen to the cellos on their own. The arpeggiated cello figure won't fully carry the texture, though it does provide a sense of forward motion. Now let's explore what additional elements we can introduce. If you're aiming for a blurrier effect, as I do here, the harp can be a good option. I chose the Synchron Vienna harp, which allows me to program effortless glissando performances thanks to its built-in pedaling logic. Let's hear how the arpeggiated cellos blend with the harp's glissando. Let's bring in the woodwinds. I'll start by adding a trill, which complement the existing texture nicely while adding a bit more tension. I'd also like to add a few more runs from the woodwinds. Working in a piece like this, I like not to lose the momentum while programming, and the woodwinds effects library lets you quickly incorporate runs and arpeggios. Just choose the desired articulation, pick the key that fits the passage, and the result is immediate. In this case, I wanted 2 descending runs spanning 2 octaves. Let's hear them on their own. And now, woodwinds, cellos, and harp all combined. To give this passage more weight, we'll bring in the low end. Low brass, low strings, and a timpani roll that instantly adds a more majestic character. Bringing all these elements together allowed me to shape the atmosphere I was aiming for in this passage. We're still missing one thing, that melodic motive from the piano version. It practically begs for a brass treatment, trumpets taking the chordal idea and trombones handling the lower lines. I think we've touched on all the sections. It didn't take long to put together, and the choices were effective. Knowing your options and what's most idiomatic really gives you an edge when orchestrating. Let's listen to the passage in its fully orchestrated form. We'll now move to our second excerpt. This passage contains a great deal of tension, and it might be interesting to look for more unusual sounds and effects. So we'll explore step by step how to create an effective orchestral effect using the appropriate VSL libraries. Let's first listen to an excerpt of the original piano version. The first step is to recreate that wicked glissando effect using orchestral instruments. There are many ways to create a glissando effect in the orchestra. Since the Virtuoso library offers dedicated string glissandos, it makes sense to use those. In the piano version, there are 4 glissandos. However, I fear that repeating them 4 times might result in a static sound. So I'll use an orchestrating trick that makes the passage feel more alive, which is alternating between players. Here, that means letting the first and second violin trade off the glissandos to keep the color fresh and the line more alive. Let's have a listen. Since I want a more forceful glissando with more body, I'll also have the horns play rip effects. Like with the violins, I'll alternate between horn 1 and horn 2. And to top it off, I'll bring in the harp, especially since with the Vienna Synchron harp, I can adapt the notes of the glissando to the harmonic structure of the passage, producing a realistic harp glissando. To avoid the predictable effect, The harp glissando will play on every 2 beats instead of all 4. So, with all 3 of these effects working together, let's hear how it comes out. We were able to achieve that scream-like effect and the raw, edgy sound. Now that we've explored the glissando effect, let's move on to the other sections. First, let's take another listen to the piano version to refresh our ears. We've got a note rubbing against the tremolo line, creating a sharp dissonance. To keep that edge, I'm leaning towards using a flutter tongue effect along with the 2 other notes. And for the octave tremolo figure played on the piano, fast repeated notes should work really well. Let's give it a listen. Let's now bring back the glissando effect and see how it all sounds together. In this third example, we'll turn our attention to the string runs. They always add an electrifying quality to tutti passages, even when embedded within a dense tutti texture. A run can subtly energize the entire passage. Let's start by hearing the passage in its piano version, where I'm planning to introduce some cascading violin runs. To keep the runs perfectly in sync with the tempo of my piece, I'll activate the stretch function. To give it more brilliance, I'll double it with the woodwinds, using the Woodwinds FX library. I'll now incorporate these runs into the other sections of the orchestra. I think we can agree that these runs bring a significant boost of energy to this passage. Thanks for joining me for this masterclass. I hope these examples gave you useful ideas for your own orchestration work. Let's finish with the full piece and score. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.